Well, welcome. This is Conservatives for McLendon-Chisholm. I'm Robert Steinhagen. Glad to have you. Glad to have you here with me today. And I hope that you've seen the first video that I produced about the knife-wielding man. There's a lot going on in our community, and what I'm trying to do is set the record straight. The misinformation, half-truths, and the outright effort by the liberal left in our community to steal away another election just cannot happen again. And the leftists are in full force right now. One of the things that I've gotten comments about over the last few hours, because I posted the video yesterday on the knife-wielding man, and thank you for all the comments that have been sent out by all of you who've seen it and appreciate the information. And I want to just establish that the whole purpose of what we're doing here is to ensure that we keep you up to date on what's going on. And I'm going to go through a lot of these, the points that I talked about in that video, including going point by point on all of these, all of this dribble, all of this propaganda that is, all of it, by the way, all of it is false. So one of the things I realized in the video that I didn't include is that there's nothing in these things that has any virtue whatsoever. The integrity of all of it. Thank you, Mike Donegan, Mark Kippot, Gary Moody, all of you guys. Thank you for lying, for misleading the people of McLendon-Chisholm. It's a really sad thing, but that's, I guess, politics for some people. One of the big questions that I got from two people is, what is the context of the Donegan, the Father O'Donegan video as it relates to him quoting from the King James Bible, which of course he wasn't quoting from the King James Bible, he was quoting from Webster's dictionary. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about today is what is the context of that. And I'm going to show you the video in its entirety. It's really two parts. His comments were made when I was a few months into my term as a city councilman. And I was making a proposal to get rid of the Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustment, which is something that a city council has the right to do. The state law establishes that it's permissible. And the reason that I wanted to do it is because the very first meeting that I attended was a developer that wanted to violate our city's 1.5 acre minimum home site standard. And the Planning and Zoning Commission was advocating for us to move forward with that. Ironically, there's many members of that Planning and Zoning Commission that just so happen to be cronies of Donegan, of Moody, of Hatfield, Pullen, of the Good Old Boy Network. And that didn't sit well with me at all. The reality is the Planning and Zoning Commission is basically, their only power is to make a recommendation to the city council. The problem is that in most cases, city councils don't really take time to truly vet and really investigate all of the things that are going on in an application. And so the Planning and Zoning Commission is oftentimes rubber stamped, and that's not something that I thought was good for our city, which is why I was proposing that we move away from planning and zoning, and for at least a time, let the city council do it. Now, before you hear the leftist jump in arms about this and how they try and mislead and deceive you, understand it's happened before. Years ago, the city council got rid of the Planning and Zoning Commission and did the job themselves, and then they reinstituted it. So that's what I was doing. I had fully intended for us to play Planning and Zoning Commission for a couple of months so that we could understand and appreciate the job of what goes into that process, and then reinstitute a new Planning and Zoning Commission and basically clean house. It's the only way you can do it. You can't push anyone off either the Board of Adjustment or the Planning and Zoning Commission. Of course, I did not win that fight, and the Planning and Zoning Commission continued. We eventually did add new members, and for the most part, I thought that the Planning and Zoning Commission did a really good job. Homes, and actually, there were many people who said that they that Jay Webb, that James B. Webb, was the owner of Altura Homes, and my confirmation, I got confirmation through Corporation Wiki. So it wasn't something I was lying about. It wasn't something that I was just throwing out haphazardly, as Mike Donegan, and you'll see him make that comment as though I should have known that Jay Webb does not own Altura Homes, that Jay Webb owns Altura Homes, and not to be confused with Jay Webb. Jay Webb is the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, not Jay Webb. Jay Webb is the owner of Altura Homes, who happens to be the son of Jay Webb. And the fact that Jay Webb is really James B. Webb, but goes by Jay Webb, and if you look at any of the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes, you'll see Jay Webb is the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, but not Jay Webb. Jay Webb is the son. And if you are confused, then shame on you. The fact is, my point about there being a problem with the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission also being the owner of Altura Homes, our city's largest home builder and developer, I believe that that's an inappropriate conflict of interest. That was the point. Mr. Donegan didn't care about that point. And the big question is that I think everyone should be asking themselves is, so Jay Webb's not the owner, but Jay Webb is. His son is the owner. And interestingly, when I asked Jay Webb about Altura Homes, he said that he sold that company to his son, who rebranded it as Altura. Now, if you go in and look at James B. Webb, you're going to see I think there's at least 10 companies, home building companies, in that list that are no longer around. And there's the state of Texas is very pro developer, and the reason that it is that I say that is because it's not a mystery, or it's not no one hides the fact that that's true, because basically what a lot of home builders do, unscrupulous home builders, I'm not talking about Jay Webb here, I'm talking just about in general, unscrupulous home builders will form a corporation, they will start building homes, and then people start getting upset. They build shoddy homes, let's say. And then people get upset when their house starts falling apart, and so they try to sue. And what happens? They just let the home builder then just declares bankruptcy on their home building company and starts a new home building company. And so that's how basically homeowners get screwed. That's why a lot of homeowners are angry sometime about how the laws benefit developers over citizens, that a lot of citizens really aren't protected. And as a conservative, I believe in the free market. I believe in the right of organizations, of people to be able to have a business and to move forward in that. What I have a problem with is the way the corporate structure does really hurt a lot of just the average citizen. And especially when you're thinking about a lot of young couples buying their first home, for instance, they're buying the homes that are not maybe as expensive, right? And so a lot of times these fly-by-night developers, they will build pretty terrible homes and then walk away from them, declare bankruptcy, and they've got their money, but the people who are left behind are out of it. Anyway, so if you go to Corporation Wiki, you can see the many home building companies that Jay Webb or James B. Webb, don't confuse Jay Webb with Jay Webb, goodness, we don't want to do that, has had, and one of them is still listed as Altura Homes. As of last week, it's still listed as Altura Homes. I've notified the Webbs, hey, it's got your name as the owner. Anyway, Jay Webb's not the owner. Jay Webb is the owner. That's his son. And the question that I have is, what the hell's the difference? I mean, really, what is the difference? If it's a conflict of interest that the father, that the owner of Altura Homes would be the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. What the hell is the difference if the son of the owner is the owner of Altura Homes? I cannot imagine how there's a difference, but Mike Donegan thinks there's a difference, and I'm going to let you see for yourself. I'm going to put it up. I need to put on my headphones so I make sure that you're hearing the sound in all of this, and that it's not too loud as well. So let's see if we can get this going. You'll see it on the second thing he does, and man, I'm really disappointed that I'm really disappointed that the sound is not working on this, and I'm not sure why it's not. But the second issue is that I claim that Mike Donegan has fast-tracked the Sonoma Verde and Triple Creek developments, and I present evidence of fact. I present the facts that, for instance, when Sonoma Verde and Triple Creek, which were both approved on the same night, I present the facts of evidence that are the meeting minutes. And if you go to the CFRGMC website, cfrgmc.org website, you'll see the post where I've got all of this listed out. And I'll put a link to that post as well. But basically, what happens is you have two major developments. Now, understand, Sonoma Verde is putting 1,100 homes on about 500 acres. The Triple Creek is putting 1,876 homes on 409 buildable acres. Now, wait a minute. Just for full disclosure, the whole development is 1,670 something acres. That's what Triple Creek is. The problem is Triple Creek is in a floodplain, and so you can't build homes in a floodplain. All but, guess how many acres? 409 of those acres are in a floodplain. So what do you do? I mean, if you're a landowner and you're trying to make a mint out of your land, and you've got all this property that's in a floodplain in a city that has a building standard of 1.5 acre minimum per home site, what are you going to do? Well, it's real easy. You just go to your friend, Mike Donegan. You go to your friends on the city council that you've known for years. What's interesting is the owner of Triple Creek, of the Triple Creek Ranch, took the Moody's, Gary and Lori Moody, our former mayor, while he was mayor, to Cozumel. I mean, the relationships here are really, really tight. So what do? You basically, you have a good friend on city council, you have a good friend who's the mayor, and you basically find a developer who's willing to develop this property. And what are you going to do with all the acres? Well, you'll put a golf course in, okay? And then you'll put in the 1,876 homes. Are you understand? And you're probably wondering where it is. And I'm going to do a show on this, but it's basically the property behind City Hall and on back. It's interesting that David Day was in City Hall just the other day, last week I think it was, and saw the owner's daughter with some developers, and they're looking at what? Guess what? That Triple Creek development. And what are they saying? They're trying to figure out how many homes they can put on there. And David Day asked a question: are you going to abide by our city standards? And their answer is, no, we can't. We can't make money by abiding by the city standards. Folks, the fact of the matter is, the leftists in our community have already declared victory. They think they've won. They're laughing. They're coming out in droves now, and developers aren't even hiding the fact that they're doing what they're doing. So basically, you push this through with the mayor. Now here's how this works. You have two developments. The problem for the problem for Sonoma Verde, Russell Phillips, is that he has neighbors that are 100 feet from his property. Why is that a problem? Well, because those neighbors, by state law, have to be notified through the mail that, hey, a big development's coming in. Well, guess what? All those neighbors, there's 12 neighbors, You have go look, and there's a link to the minutes. And by the way, whenever I put links on anything and I want you to see something, I don't cut out what I want you to see. No, I give you the whole minutes. You'll see the entire body of minutes whenever I put a document out, and all I do is highlight what I want you to see. That way you can see that it's in context. This is not something that the liberal left does. They will never do that. Why? Because they know that if you see something in context, you'll go, wait a minute, you're not telling me the whole truth. I'm telling you the whole truth. That that the night that they had the public hearing for Sonoma Verde and Triple Creek, they had 12 people come out. I think it was 12. Maybe it was 8. Maybe it was 9. I don't know the exact number, but you'll see for yourself when you look at the minutes. You'll see when you compare it to other meetings, a ton of people came to City Hall, and every one of them was a property owner that was next door to the Sonoma Verde development. Not one person spoke in favor of that development. Well, save one. Russell Phillips, the developer, he spoke in favor of his development. That shouldn't be a surprise, which means that you basically you post notice in a newspaper. Why is that? Well, because there's 2 reasons. No one reads the newspaper. I mean, you got the Rockwall Hilarious banner, which is free, and you know the value of something by how much you have to pay. And so that's the first thing. You put it in a newspaper. Very few people are reading newspapers anymore today. It's a dying industry. But the second thing is the standards of the law make it almost impossible to figure out what it's saying, especially when you're talking about a proposed development. I have copies of both of the notices that were placed in the newspaper. And, you know, one of the things that we learned on the city survey, again, and I'll talk about the survey in a little while here as part of today's show, but one of the things we learned was that people are not reading the Rockwall Herald banner for public notices. And so we've got to, it helped us realize, okay, well, we need to do a better job of reaching out. Adrian Balcom did a great job of doing a couple of things, doing a citizen blog, basically sending out an email type blog. I forget what you call it, and she's probably going to give me grief for that. But it was basically, if you opt in, you get some periodic information from the city that basically updates you on what happens. And one of the things that we recognized was we needed to use real language, not legalese, but real language, so that people are don't feel like they're being duped. And so what we did was, or what they did was, they basically posted in the newspapers, and no one, when you look at it, and I hope that you do, I hope that you go and look at the information that I'll post, because it's enlightening. You'll see for yourself. It's almost impossible to really understand what's going on. And so on the same night, you have 2 major, massive developments being voted on and approved with very few people having any idea what's going on. The only people that really were privy to what was going on were the property owners that were 100 feet from the Sonoma Verde development. They were up in arms, but they couldn't do a darn thing about it. And so Mayor Donegan takes exception with that. And at the meeting, and unfortunately, I wish the audio was working, because it's a great point to see it for yourself, that the evidence of fact that he comes with, remember I'm saying that you have Hatfield and Pullen as part of this bad faith effort against the people of McLendon-Chisholm, acting in contradiction to what the people, I believe, want, and our city survey showed that they didn't want it. You have that, and what is former Mayor Donegan's evidence? He looks out in the crowd and he says, and guess who's there? Former Councilman Hatfield, former Councilman Pullen. He says, Councilman Hatfield, Councilman Pullen, we didn't fast track that, did we? And they went, no. And then he turns to me and goes, we need to elevate the discourse. Need to elevate the discourse. Let's talk about elevating the discourse. This is Mike Donegan right here. This is the Citizens for McLendon-Chisholm. This is what he writes, and I'm gonna post this on so that you can see it. And I think I put a link to it already, but in the previous video. But if I didn't, I'll put it in this video. But this is what it reads on the back, and I'm just going to read the whole thing because it's not very long. It says, "Dear friends, our town is becoming a wonderful place for people who want to live and raise their families. We have access to good schools, own beautiful homes, and share life in a close-knit neighborhood. This didn't happen by accident. The reasons that brought most of us to McLendon-Chisholm are bringing new neighbors, an opportunity, and that opportunity is really starting to hit us hard, and that opportunity is about to hit us hard if we elect the wrong people for city council. But I digress. Let's continue. If ever constructed under the approved plan development, total density will be approximately 1 home per acre." Really? 1 home per acre? It's 1,600 and it's 1,670 something acres. You're putting 1,876 homes. Yeah, that's not approximately 1 acre. And you're putting all of those homes on just 409 of those acres. See how the misinformation? See how Donegan works? He's a master deceiver. He doesn't want you to know the whole truth. Let's continue. They also want you to believe that having a AA bond rating to establish credit and build our first city hall was a terrible idea. Now this is a complete and total fabrication. Never once can I ever remember even talking about the bond rating. Why were we opposed to the city hall? Well, it was because they approved it without a vote of the citizens. They approved it after telling us it would cost $1.5 million, us, 50 people who showed up at the public meeting that I attended, the town hall public meeting. I attended that meeting, and the 50 of us were told it would not go a penny over 1.5 acres. And I even have documented evidence to prove that Steve Hatfield is on record at a city council meeting saying, because they were talking about going to $1.8 million, and Steve Hatfield dug in and said, no, if we said $1.5 million, we should stick by it. We should mean 1.5 acres and not 1.5 million, not 1.5 acres, $1.5 million and not a penny over. Problem is that was, I think, in September or October of 2014. January 25th, 2015, nothing happens. No mention in any minutes about any changes, any possible changes to the cost of City Hall, nothing. But on January 25th, 2015, the City Council goes into executive session. They come out of executive session, and Steve Hatfield says, I move to approve the bond for $2.125 million. It's seconded and approved by a 4-to-1 vote. Gary Lovell, the only conservative at the time on the council, voted against it. Our issue was never about the bond rating, but again, this is Father Michael O'Donegan. And those of you who talk about Mike Donegan as though he is incapable of lies and deceit, you're completely deceiving yourselves. Let me continue. Here's the fun part. They have published opinions that disrespect veterans. That's a complete lie. A complete lie. Show me one. Show me one instance anywhere where we've, even by accident, show me on Citizens, the CFRG, Citizens for Representative Government website. Show me anywhere or anything I published or said. Show it to me where I've ever disrespected a veteran. Never, never, ever. You so deceitful. They have published opinions that disrespect veterans, a lie. The need for service of first responders, another absolute total lie. And falsely accuse people of this committee, period. I don't think he proofread this. All of this in a deliberate attempt to gain political control. We hope that you will consider the good investments that have been made in McLendon-Chisholm's future and that the safety of your home and property are worthwhile endeavors. Please take time to vote on Saturday, May 7th. Neighbors, it's time to make decisions. Don't drive by banners on Sunday you wish you had voted. And of course, on the front of this, in big letters, it says, please vote on Saturday, May 7th. Vote against the tax rollback. Vote in city council elections. Has anyone had a chance to look at the filing documents of Lorna Kipphut, Trudy Worcester, William Dahl? Have you had a chance to look at those yet? I'll post them for you. I'll let you look at them. They're on Adrian Balcom's website. She's already posted them. They may be on Scott Turnbull's too. Yeah, I'll post those. Look who's supporting them. Mike Donegan, Gary Moody, Steve Hatfield, Jack Pullen. The same people. Of course, Mark and Lorna Kipphut are Mark Kippott's supporting all of them too. So this is, but that's Mike Donegan. That's who I've run up against from day one. And because the problem with me is not the fact that I'm rude or things. And yes, I can be rude, and I fully admit that. I'm in no way, shape, manner, or form perfect. In fact, while Donegan likes to tell people about what a great man he is, as far as leading men's Bible studies and things like that, I will tell you, I would not declare myself that way. I tend to gravitate toward the Apostle Paul. I like Paul. He's my kind of guy. In Timothy, he says, "Among sinners, I'm the worst of all." In Corinthians, in Romans, he talks about how he wages war against his body and does the very things he hates, oh wretched man that he is. That's my kind of guy. That's who I am. I recognize that, as Jesus said, he said, "Why do you call me good? Only God is good." Well, I would agree with that. There are none that are good. None of us are good. And Mike Donegan falls in that pattern too. The thing about Mike Donegan and me, the thing that we have in common is that we do both share a common faith, and that is in Jesus Christ. We both know Christ is our Savior. I believe that I have no question that when Mike Donegan exits this world, or exits the electorate, as they say in politics, and when I exit the electorate, both of us will stand before the kingdom of God. We'll stand at the gate of heaven, the proverbial, if there is a true gate of heaven. And when God says, "Why should I let you into my kingdom?" We'll both say the same thing. I think. I don't know, but I trust that Mike Donegan would say the same thing. I would. Maybe he won't. But what I would say is that there's nothing that I've done. I come to you, and I come to these gates completely barren of anything worthy of being accepted into these gates, except for the grace of Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for my sins and basically made it possible for me to be called worthy to enter these gates and be called a son of God. I think Mike Donegan feels this, it would express the same thing. And so we're two believers who have very real differences in politics, but more than that, we have very real differences in the way we go about expressing discourse. Mr. Donegan does so in a pharisaical way. I do so in a very honest and straightforward way. And I realize that the liberal left is scoffing at that, but I defy you to demonstrate or show me any instance where I haven't acknowledged whenever I have failed, whenever I have fallen short, when I haven't gotten it right, where I didn't acknowledge it. I do. But the problem is, everything I talked about in the knife-wielding man video is absolutely true, and it's supported by documented evidence, and which I'm going to be presenting over time. So that's the context of the Father O'Donegan videos. I wanted to take some time and talk real quick about two things. One is a social media post by, let me see. I'm going to go with, let me start with just the FU McLendon-Chisholm group. They have posted something to their group. It's the McLendon-Chisholm Community Crime Watch is what they're calling this post. And they're talking about a couple of days ago, I'll just read it. A couple of days ago, we learned that several MC residents had fake profiles opened in their names. Boy, I can name a few from this group that's true of. This is happening on the Nextdoor platform. This is why we ask a few simple questions and have multiple moderators and admins from across the city and the area. Okay, this is, I guess, asking people, explain why they let some people in and don't let others in. Almost everyone on this group has multiple mutual friends and can simply confirm. On occasion, we've even used the Rockwell CAD for validation. If we are unable to confirm, we'll make a public post with the account for your confirmation. If you use the other platform, please be very careful of your engagements. Yeah, okay, but I don't understand exactly what they're talking about. But here's the fun part. Also confirmed, the former mayor of MC, Steinhagen, that's me, is the lead on Nextdoor. Yeah, I am the lead on Nextdoor in my neighborhood of Quail Creek. I started it here in Quail Creek. And uses multiple social profiles. Really? And what might those be? I have my Robert Steinhagen profile on Nextdoor. I have my Robert Steinhagen profile on Facebook. I have Conservatives for McLendon-Chisholm profile. That's this show. What other profiles? Extreme caution is recommended due to the fake profiles, fake mailers, and active, here we go, active Rockwall County Sheriff's investigation into his actions as temporary mayor. Here you go. There's more of the left coming out to show that who they really are. So big surprise. Okay, before I get to the last one, I've got two more things. One, this is a post from Trudy Worcester. She's running for city council. This is really quite funny. There's I'm going to put a post on all copies of these so that you can see what I'm looking at. Apparently, let's see. Trudy says, this is so crazy. The old mayor of McLendon-Chisholm who got booted out and two councilmen that are running for re-election. Who does this? Please don't forget to vote. So basically, it's a YouTube, it's a link to YouTube, and the title of it says, Dallas suburban mayor disrespects police nationwide. And I don't have the whole thing, but I think it says that police don't prevent crime. And then somebody responds, did he say police don't prevent crime? I mean, these people are becoming caricatures of themselves. Well, let's put that in context. Did I ever say that? You bet I did. Yeah, I absolutely said that when I was doing my State of the City address. Have you noticed that I'm almost positive. That this is a very short clip from that State of the City address, and because they don't want you to hear everything else I say, because again, This is not for them about truth or facts. This is about distortion of the facts. What is the facts? Police do not prevent crime. That's an immutable, incontrovertible fact. The purpose of law enforcement is to enforce the law when a crime has been committed. Police cannot prevent your home from being broken into unless they're sitting outside of your home. So I guess there are times maybe when a police officer's presence can help reduce the likelihood of crimes, but we've actually had, and I know this is shocking to know, obviously the left doesn't realize this, but we've actually had presidents who've been assassinated who were under very, very heavy guard by police, Secret Service, by law enforcement. Crime happens every day, and right in front of police. Here's what so Trudy Worcester. Here's how I think Trudy Worcester is using this, and this is kind of the caricature. I think this is why I call it a caricature, because I think that what she's going to do is kind of a Hillary Clinton on this one. And so here's what I predict: she'll go to a group like a house party or something where people are gathered to hear her and what she has to say about the different things of the city. And what she'll do is she'll say, well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the former mayor of the former appointed mayor of McLendon-Chisholm, Robert Steinhagen, actually said that police don't prevent crime. And then you'll hear this, all throughout. And then she'll say, well, I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of police getting pushed down and threatened and disrespected. We need to show respect to police. I think that's absolutely terrible. And there's the mob, the group without a head, moving into a frenzy of anger, and so that she can talk about her campaign. This is how the left works. See, truth doesn't care. Facts don't care about your feelings is kind of the fundamental thing that conservatives embrace. Facts don't care about your feelings. The fact that police do not prevent crime is not an argument against police. The fact that police do not prevent crime is simply stating that when Gary Moody and Steve Hatfield and Jack Pullen were proposing their 333% tax budget increase for a 228% tax rate increase to go from 9 cents to 32 cents, what I was saying is that part of that was for a police department, so that the city of McLendon-Chisholm could have a police department, which makes no sense. That is the stupidest idea that you can ever have. And you know why? Because I actually talked with Sheriff Evanson when I first became mayor, and I basically talked to him about the fact that, hey, I recognize that we're the only city in Rockwall County that doesn't have our own police department, and I don't think that we need one. And Sheriff Evanson goes, of course you don't need one. He said, I forget which city it is. He said that city is regretting starting their own police department because it is just a black hole financially. And why is that? Why don't we need a police department? Well, because we have the Rockwall County Sheriff's Department. And I told Sheriff Evanson, I said, look, if we need a dedicated officer in our city, we can pay for that. Why would we want to do that? Well, it makes it a lot easier, frankly, because we don't have to pay the overhead. By the way, when you start a police department, you can't just hire one person. You have to, I think Scott Turnbull is the one who highlighted the fact that you have to hire four people in total for every or to start a police department. You can't just hire a police officer to go out and write tickets, which, by the way, was the whole purpose. That was their thinking in hiring a police officer. They were going to work during the day, I think from 7 to 7. They were going to have a patrol car, and what were they going to patrol? They were going to sit on 205 and write tickets all day. That's basically what they were going to do. But that also is the biggest fallacy and biggest lie that so many people think is a revenue generator. When I went to the TML conference, going back to that, I learned how little that cities can actually get out of those tickets that are written, and so it's not. All right. Have you ever been where you almost lose your battery and your show almost goes off the air? So I came that close. So anyway, sorry about that. I apologize. I'm still learning about this. We'll make it better as the days go on. But if you do get a social media post and you see, if you're watching social media and there's a lot of you out there who are, and you see this kind of nonsense, send it to me. I'd love to talk about it. Here's one of them. And this is from candidate Lorna Kipphut. She says, if you have no intention of doing the survey, call the city and tell them not to send you a postcard. Spread the word. You know, I got to tell you, I think she's right. If you plan to vote for Lorna Kipphut, Trudy Worcester, or William Dahl, don't do the survey. Why would you? They don't care about what you have to say. They don't want to know your opinions. They don't want to know what the majority of the people think. And how can I say that? How can I be sure that of this? Well, we have what's called an economic development committee, something like that. And the purpose of this committee is to plan for the future of our city and what kind of businesses we want to bring in and try and attract businesses for our city. The Economic Development Committee has not pulled one of the previous surveys out in their meetings, as far as I know. And should that be a surprise? Because who's on the committee? You got Jim, let's make McLendon-Chisholm Frisco bloom. I think he's the one who's chairing this committee. You've got, of course, Mike Donegan, Mark Kippot. You've got the usual suspects. They have no regard for the city survey. And those people who say we didn't use the city survey are completely either ignorant of the fact or they just are trying to make a political point, which is baseless and false because we used the city survey all the time. It helped drive us. It helped guide us on decisions that we made again and again. And I'm going to use one of the shows to go through how we used the survey when we deliberated on many of the items that were going on in our city. So I think it's important that you have all of the facts and that you're not just listening to the dribble. You know, it's interesting. One of the things, and I'll point this out, and I don't have the slide of well, I probably do, but I don't have time to pull it up. But the slide of the campaign sign that Wayne Orchard and I had with the tax rollback on the top, you saw it in the previous video. What was interesting to me throughout that election was that Wayne or I would drive by homes that would have our sign there, and it would also, all of a sudden, there would be a Mark Kippot sign in their yard. And every time, without exception, every time we went to their homes or we called them or emailed them and asked, hey, why do you have a Mark Kippot sign in your yard? Their response was always the same. Oh, I thought he was running with you. That's what he made it sound like. That's what he told us, that he agreed with everything that you're talking about, that he's aligned with you. I said, well, no. See, he's running against Wayne Orchard. He is? Oh, we had no idea. He didn't make it sound like that. This is who the Kippots are. I suspect that you may have had a knock on your door from Lorna and Mark Kippot or Lorna and one of her friends coming by your house to sit down with you, look you in the eye, and tell you everything's going to be great, that they're real conservatives, that they really believe in all of this stuff. And the fact is they don't. that's what's so confounding to me as a conservative. I am, and again, the world I live and work in is primarily working with Christian ministries, and so while they're not perfect, no way, shape, manner, or form are they perfect. That's why they hire me oftentimes, because they're having trouble and they're trying to raise large dollars. And I live in that world. And so we're truthfulness, we're integrity, and all the like. That's kind of the way people roll. So it is unusual to me, for me to be around so much deceit and to see it so blatantly. I alluded to the fact that I made a mistake when I was in office, and I think my biggest mistake is that I don't kiss two things. That's babies and ass. I'm not a politician. I can offend people because I believe that facts don't care about your feelings, and regardless of what you think and what you feel, the facts are the facts. And when I'm confronted by stupidity, which is exemplified in these kinds of posts, the only thing I can do is say this comment was stupid. It's not based on fact. Lorna Kipphut, when the fact that people are not engaging in the survey is very interesting to me, because isn't it true that Herman Larkin, Jim Bloom, and the mayor, Mark Kippot, Lorna Kipphut, William Dahl, Trudy Worcester, and all Gary Moody, Steve Hadfield, Jack Pullen, all of these people, isn't it true that all of them are saying, don't take the survey? Oh, this is rigged. Oh, this is just wrong. They forget the fact that it doesn't care about your feeling. They forget the fact that every member of the council had the opportunity to contribute, and they did. That's an immutable, irrefutable, and incontrovertible fact. It's also a fact that they chose not to. The fact that they say differently now doesn't change what is true. They don't like the fact that here's what what you're going to see on the survey. You're going to learn some things. That was one of the purposes when I started the survey. That was one of the things that I emphasized with the council. I said, look, this is an opportunity not just for us to ask questions, but it's also an opportunity for us to inform the citizens about what's going on. And if we have alternative points of view on the council, which at that time we did, both of those points of view can be included as part of that survey, and it was. But see, they don't care about listening to what you're saying. When Mark and Lorna Kipphut come to your house, they will tell you whatever it takes to get elected. That's a fact. Are you so naive that you're not going to actually look at the facts? I think you're smarter than that. And that's why I'm doing this, because I know that the people of McLendon-Chisholm, when they see facts, when they see the truth, you're not so naive, and you're going to go, wait a minute, something has to be done. This is not right. And I appreciate those who are coming and watching this show. And I promise that every time I do this, I will not make it a waste of your time. If you have questions, again, like I say, you can email me at conservativesformc, no hyphen, at gmail.com. If I may read your post online or on the show, and I won't mention your name unless you say I can. If you'll notice, I have not mentioned anyone's name in either one of my videos, in today's video or the previous one. Anyone who is not a public figure, I've not mentioned their name. The only names that